Anthony Scaramucci, the man who famously served as White House communications director for a whirlwind 11 days, is back in the spotlight. Known for his brash style and unfiltered opinions, Scaramucci has never been one to shy away from controversy. Now, he's a man on a mission, determined to make his voice heard in the chaotic landscape of American politics. He's sounding the alarm about the direction of America under President Donald Trump, and his message is stark. The first 7 weeks of Trump's new term have been nothing short of a wild and terrifying ride, filled with unprecedented actions and decisions that have left many Americans feeling uneasy. Scaramucci, once a Trump insider, now views the president as a threat to the very fabric of American democracy. He speaks from a place of deep concern, having witnessed the inner workings of the administration firsthand. He's not mincing words, and his insider perspective makes his warnings all the more chilling. Scaramucci's criticisms are wide-ranging, covering a broad spectrum of issues that he believes are undermining the country's stability and future. He touches on everything from Trump's economic policies, which he argues are short-sighted and potentially disastrous, to his unsettling embrace of authoritarian strongmen, which Scaramucci believes could erode America's standing on the global stage and compromise its democratic values. He paints a picture of a White House in disarray, driven by personal loyalty over competence, and characterized by a dangerous disregard for the norms and institutions that have long defined American democracy. The atmosphere, he suggests, is one of chaos and confusion, with little regard for the long-term consequences. His message is clear: wake up, America, before it's too late. The stakes, according to Scaramucci, have never been higher, and the time for action is now. One of Scaramucci's most pressing concerns is Trump's approach to the economy. He argues that Trump's policies, particularly his penchant for imposing tariffs, are doing far more harm than good. These tariffs, Scaramucci contends, are essentially a form of economic warfare, a point driven home by none other than investing legend Warren Buffett, who has publicly compared them to acts of war. The burden of these tariffs, Scaramucci emphasizes, falls squarely on the shoulders of ordinary Americans, particularly low- and middle-income families who are already struggling to make ends meet. He sees Trump's economic policies as reckless and ill-conceived, driven by a dangerous combination of nationalism and a fundamental misunderstanding of how the global economy works. The result, Scaramucci warns, is an America increasingly isolated on the world stage, its economy weakened by self-inflicted wounds. Seriously? The idea of annexing Canada might sound like a joke, but it's a topic that has actually been floated in some circles. It's not just a wild conspiracy theory. There have been real discussions and comments that have raised eyebrows. Beyond the economic realm, Scaramucci points to Trump's foreign policy as another source of deep unease. He highlights how Trump's unpredictable and often aggressive stance on international relations has caused significant concern among political analysts and foreign policy experts. He expresses alarm at Trump's apparent territorial ambitions, citing the president's reported comments about wanting to integrate Canada as the 51st state, and his desire to acquire Greenland, even suggesting the possibility of military intervention. These ambitions are not just theoretical, they reflect a broader strategy that could have serious implications. Such statements, Scaramucci argues, are not just outlandish but deeply concerning, revealing a disturbing disregard for international norms and the sovereignty of other nations. The idea of annexing another country goes against the principles of self-determination and respect for borders that have been the foundation of international relations for decades. This, Scaramucci argues, is part of a larger pattern of Trump seeking to upend the post-World War II world order. By challenging long-standing alliances and international agreements, Trump is attempting to reshape the global landscape in ways that could be unpredictable and potentially dangerous. Trump, he believes, is deliberately seeking to distance the U.S. from its traditional allies while cozying up to authoritarian leaders like Vladimir Putin. This shift in alliances could weaken the United States' position on the global stage and embolden authoritarian regimes. This realignment, Scaramucci fears, will have profound and destabilizing consequences for the global balance of power, leaving America diminished and the world a far more dangerous place. The potential fallout from such a shift could lead to increased global tensions and conflicts, making the world less stable and more unpredictable. Scaramucci's concerns extend to the very heart of the Trump administration. He argues that Trump has systematically replaced competent officials with unqualified loyalists, creating a government of yes-men who are more interested in pleasing their boss than in serving the best interests of the country. This, he believes, has created an environment where dissent is stifled and bad decisions are made without the benefit of critical feedback. Scaramucci, drawing on his own brief but tumultuous time in the White House, describes a chaotic and dysfunctional decision-making process, driven by Trump's whims and impulses, rather than any coherent strategy or long-term vision. He paints a picture of an administration adrift, its incompetence compounded by its dangerous embrace of authoritarian tendencies. Trump's approach to foreign policy, Scaramucci contends, is characterized by a dangerous mix of bluster, impulsiveness, and a complete lack of understanding of the complexities of international relations. He points to Trump's treatment of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky as a prime example of what he calls the president's gangster tactics. Trump's attempts to pressure Zelensky into investigating his political rivals, Scaramucci argues, were not just deeply inappropriate but also indicative of a broader pattern of behavior that undermines America's moral authority on the world stage. Scaramucci laments the erosion of America's standing in the world under Trump's leadership. He argues that Trump's actions have alienated allies, emboldened adversaries, and diminished America's role as a champion of democracy and human rights. The result, he warns, is a world order in flux, with America increasingly sidelined and the forces of authoritarianism ascendant. The consequences of Trump's America First agenda, Scaramucci argues, are being felt acutely in Europe. The ripple effects of this policy have created a sense of urgency among European nations. He suggests that European leaders, faced with an unpredictable and unreliable partner in the White House, have little choice but to chart their own course. The traditional alliances that once seemed unshakable are now being questioned. He specifically calls on leaders like Keir Starmer of the United Kingdom, urging them to take bold steps in redefining their foreign policies, and Emmanuel Macron of France to forge closer ties within Europe. Macron's vision for a more integrated Europe is now more relevant than ever, and to reduce their reliance on the United States. This shift is not just about politics, it's about ensuring stability and security for the future. Scaramucci believes that NATO, the cornerstone of transatlantic security for decades, is facing an existential crisis. The alliance's future is uncertain as member states reassess their commitments. He urges Mark Rutte, the head of NATO, to prepare for a future where the United States can no longer be counted on as a reliable partner. This preparation involves strategic planning and increased collaboration among European nations. The message is clear: Europe can no longer afford to put all its eggs in the American basket. Diversification of alliances and partnerships is now a necessity. It's time for a new era of European strategic autonomy. This new direction will define the continent's role on the global stage for years to come. Perhaps the most damning indictment of the Trump presidency comes when Scaramucci doesn't mince words. He calls Trump a fascist. He points to Trump's intolerance for dissent, his attacks on the free press, and his efforts to undermine the rule of law as evidence of his authoritarian tendencies. This is not hyperbole, Scaramucci insists, but a sober assessment based on his first-hand observations of Trump's behavior. Scaramucci expresses deep regret for his own role in enabling Trump's rise to power. He acknowledges that his support, however brief, helped to legitimize Trump in the eyes of some Americans. Now he feels a moral obligation to speak out, to warn his fellow citizens about the dangers posed by Trump's presidency. Scaramucci's decision to speak out against Trump has come at a personal cost. He reveals that he has received death threats and has been placed on a blacklist by the new FBI director, Kash Patel, a Trump loyalist. This blacklist, he alleges, is part of a broader effort by the Trump administration to silence its critics and to create a climate of fear and intimidation. Despite the risks, Scaramucci refuses to be silenced. He believes that it is his patriotic duty to speak truth to power, even if it means putting himself in harm's way. His courage in the face of these threats is a testament to his commitment to his principles and to the future of American democracy. Scaramucci argues that Trump's continued hold on power is due in no small part to the support he enjoys from some of America's wealthiest individuals. He points to figures like Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg, who he believes are putting their own financial interests ahead of the well-being of the country. He draws a parallel to the Krupp family, German industrialists who supported the Nazi regime in the 1930s, arguing that history is repeating itself as powerful elites make a Faustian bargain with a dangerous demagogue. This, Scaramucci warns, is a dangerous trend that threatens to undermine American democracy. When a small group of billionaires can exert outsized influence over the political process, it undermines the principle of one person, one vote. It creates a system where the wealthy few can rig the rules in their favor, leaving everyone else behind.
So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and let's turn the page on a new adventure together. Get ready to experience books like never before, only on VBook 360. Like, comment, and share to support the channel and keep the video magic alive. Thank you for stopping by. And remember, every video has a story, and every story deserves to be shared. See you in the next video.